Yo, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the latest album to be released by Brent Faiyaz. If you're not familiar, Maryland pop and R&B artist Christopher Brentwood, aka Brent Faiyaz, returns with his sophomore studio album entitled Wasteland. Faiyaz initially hit my radar with the release of his debut album, Saunderson. This was back in 2017. Riding the wave of momentum built with the release of the single Crew, released along with DC rappers Goldlink and Shy Glizzy, it was clear to me that Faiyaz was certainly an artist to watch. I did enjoy his debut LP, but admittedly, I did not listen to his EP released in 2020, which was entitled Fuck the World. I do enjoy his style a lot, so I might visit that project soon. But back to Wasteland, the album is a total of 19 tracks, sitting just over an hour in runtime. As always, I'll be offering my thoughts and highlights track by track, naturally starting with the first one entitled Villain's Theme. The intro track features an interesting instrumental. We've got plucked strings that sound like a blend of violins and violas. Laid on top of the sound is a sampled conversation between Faiyaz and fellow R&B artist Georgia Smith. Each sentence of their delivery hits the instrumental differently, and it hits the listener differently with varying types of reverb and pitch. The conversation largely centers around common vices of the world. You can think of things like drugs and sex. They discuss the appeal of such vices and the practical purposes behind them as they apply to each artist personally. It's a unique album opener that prepares the listener for the thought-provoking experience that awaits them. Track number 2 is entitled Loose Change. The instrumental consists of many strings, a blend of both plucked and bowed performances. There's also various synths that appear throughout the song, creating a beautiful color palette that's constantly shifting as the song plays. After the halfway mark, we can also hear hints of a crunchy bass line that is very subtle. If you blink, you will miss it. Brent's vocals feature tons of lush layering to give the listener plenty of sound to take in. And on the song, Faiyaz sings of love and how it seems to be a fleeting thing, given his status as a successful musician. During the second verse, he sings, "Maybe my sense of reality is turned off. Who the fuck knows? I just make songs. Who am I to challenge how this shit goes?" It's sarcasm, by the way. Several questions linger as during the third verse we hear him sing, "I swear the fame ain't changed shit, but who am I?" And the real lingering question is brought up during the chorus, when we hear him sing, "And if what we see ain't what it seems or feels, girl, what is love?" We transition into track number 3 entitled Gravity, featuring Tyler, the Creator. I enjoy this instrumental a lot. It is pretty simple. We've got a twangy guitar riff provided by none other than Steve Lacy. His guitar and bass performances are anchored by a smooth rocking beat. Thematically, Faiyaz and Tyler speak to a former lover, or at least someone that they are on the cusp of splitting ways with. The reason I say that is because they use the metaphor of gravity as being the force that pulls them back to this main person, no matter where they find themselves due to their touring, busy lifestyle. As Faiyaz puts it on the second verse, "It's not that I'm over you, girl, but I got things to do. It's too much to be your boyfriend, and you ain't making this much easier." Tyler has some fun wordplay in his verse as he raps, "Now when I'm gone and I roam around the globe for 3 months, that's too long without something that's sweet. So I phone little treats, that's a snack, not a feast. They don't mean much to me because I know that I have a bakery back at home." Both artists seem to frame infidelity in a way that's understood to be a coping mechanism for them. And they do explain that their love remains unchanged despite whatever may happen between them and other people. We transition into track number 4 entitled Heal Your Heart Interlude. We've got hazy road chords that paint a warm and blurry scene. Brent's warm vocals fit the mix perfectly, and we've got layered background harmonies to further enrich the mix. Eventually, a muted piano and melody join the mix, and the song quickly fades out after that. Here, Faiyaz sings of a strong desire to fix the one you love, helping the person you love the most to improve, to grow as a person. As he sings in the chorus, "Don't nobody got you like I do. Can't nobody patch you up like new. I know your flaws. I know what makes you who you are, girl. I wish I had all the answers to heal your heart." A sentiment that I'm sure many listeners will certainly relate to. Track number 5 is a skit entitled Egomaniac. The skit places us in the middle of a heated conversation at the dinner table between Brent Faiyaz and his partner who goes unnamed on the album. Here we find out that she is pregnant with Brent's child. She speaks to Brent in an angry manner, as we also learn that she's moved away from her hometown closer to LA to be closer to Brent, but she is feeling alone and isolated as a result. This establishes the main plot of the album and in a way does foreshadow later revelations in the story. We get back to the music with track number 6 entitled All Mine. This instrumental is airy and cosmic, featuring fuzzy synth chords and soft synth melodies that act as counter melodies to Brent's vocals. The drums have a cool type of reverb on them, and the mix as a whole is both warm and bright. And on that note, I do have to mention the drum samples. I like them a lot because they're unique. Unfortunately, some samples tend to get overused in contemporary music, so what we hear on this song ends up being a refreshing approach to the instrumental and the mix. Underneath all those elements, we've got a synth bass line that becomes most audible towards the end of the song, and thematically, the song feels like Brent is making an effort to persuade a former lover to stay with him. As he puts it on the second verse, "When you ain't with me, you feel alone, and I was wondering if you've always known. You don't have to be perfect, I feel like it's worth it. I know now that I've been the worst, but I'll love you better." Track number 7 is entitled Price of Fame. This song has an interesting instrumental, as it almost feels like two separate songs blended into one. The first part is a hazy and psychedelic R&B tune, and the mix is noticeably pitched down. The drum groove is steady, but the same section speeds up eventually, as the vocals are back to their regular pitch at that point. It's as if the mix was moving in slow motion and reverted back to normal speed. Shortly after this, the instrumental transitions into a soft ballad. Here we've got warm guitar chords and Brent's vocals carrying the listener forward. There's no percussive elements at that part. Thematically, the first part revolves around the toll that fame can take and the effect that it can have on a person. As Faiyaz puts it on the chorus, the fame, I swear it isn't everything. Glitz and glam, it isn't everything. People screaming your name, I swear it isn't everything. The demands, it isn't everything. The second half centers around a persuasive type of monologue. It feels like Faiyaz is speaking directly to someone and explaining that a real connection between two people should be very simple. As he puts it on the chorus, you don't need someone to make you feel better than you've ever felt. You know what you need is someone who will be there when you don't feel yourself. And I do have to agree with this sentiment. Genuine love is something that will come simply and is not very complicated. Track number 8 is entitled Ghetto Gatsby featuring Alicia Keys. I love this instrumental. It's very subtle, sneaky, playful. We've got a pizzicato approach to the strings, mainly violins and cellos from what I could tell. There are bowed parts that tiptoe in and out of the mix, and they do feel very playful. Alicia Keys has vocal samples sprinkled throughout the first, I guess, like 3/4 of the song. We don't have any percussive elements until the very end. That's when Keys' verse begins, and there are snaps keeping the rhythm steady, with tons of reverb on them. I love the way her voice sounds here. She's singing in a deeper register, and her vocal delivery is closer to a spoken part. I do think the song would have been stronger had Alicia Keys had a more prominent role on the song. I would have been interested to hear more of that vocal chemistry between both vocalists, because I know it would have been amazing to hear. But the song as it is very beautiful. Thematically, it is a brief conversation between a couple. It's very clear to the listener that their bond is on thin ice. Track number 9 is entitled Wasting Time, featuring Drake and the legendary Virginia Beach duo, the Neptunes. I cannot get enough of this instrumental. The intro hits the listener with lush strings, and then the drums come in. It's a blend of stuttering hi-hats, a crispy snare, and that bubbly bass line that keeps the listener firmly grounded. The subtle usage of keyboards on the track is also amazing, and Brent's vocals make me feel like that SpongeBob meme where he's floating in the middle of the air. The approach to the processing of his vocals is just masterful. From the overdubbing to the subtle usage of reverb for emphasis, it gets a chef's kiss from me. Thematically, the song is simple as the speaker implores a potential lover to spend time with them. If time spent idly is time wasted, then what's the harm in spending some downtime together? Faiyaz puts it clearly in the chorus, if you're going to waste your time, then waste your time with me. You can have all the space, more than you need. Drake's verses spans on that theme as he describes the conversations that one has with someone you're close to, but you just don't get to see them often. Such conversations can be volatile, as being in an intimate relationship entails so many different emotions. So, I understand the song may be surface level, but there's a lot to unpack here, as it's something that anyone that has indulged in romance in the long run will easily understand. Track number 10 is entitled Rolling Stone. This instrumental is a beautiful ballad that features glittery synths, flute ostinatos, wavy synth chords, and rich vocal layering. There are no percussive elements, and yet the instrumental is full of syncopation and movement to still provide the listener with a groove to guide them forward. Thematically, it is a raw and somber tune as Brent opens up about his insecurities and fears about himself. I like the way he phrases some of it during the second verse as he sings, "Ask my lovers, I'm troubled, first I'm exciting, then I'm gaslighting, make up your mind. I'm rich as fuck and I ain't nothing at the same time. People hate me and they love me at the same time. I guess I'm everything and nothing at the same time." It's raw what we feel in this song, and I do like it for that reason. We transition into track number 11 entitled FYTB, an acronym for Fuck Is You Talking About, featuring Junie. This song is a cool blend of smooth R&B and rap. Brent's verse features soft synth chords and laid back and minimal drums. Once Junie begins his verse, the instrumental swaps the drums for a more turned 808 programmed approach. It's a very organic transition that eases the listener into a new, distinct section, but it feels very seamless. Thematically, it's a song about the feeling that might linger after a relationship ended on a sour note, an ending where you can't help but wonder if things might have ended up differently. Brent highlights it on the chorus as he sings, "Baby, I see you so much in my dreams, we could have worked it out. Fuck is you talking about? Lately I've been looking for love, but I only come up on the drugs, stall me out. So if you ain't the one, either find me some money or find me a plug because I'm running out." Faiyaz describes that frustration that one might feel, and it's understandable that he'll do anything he can to drown those thoughts out. What follows is another skit, track number 12, entitled Oblivion. This skit features Brent's character in a limo with a girl, and soon it becomes clear to the listener that this girl is not his baby's mother. We can hear Brent's song All Mine playing in the background, which is crazy to think about. It's like the album that we're listening to exists within the lore of the album that we're listening to. But anyway, here we find out that Faiyaz's character has been seeing someone else in between shows and contractual obligations, and he is clearly not being a loyal man. We get back to the music with track number 13 entitled Dead Man Walking. This instrumental feels like light feathers brushing up against one's skin. We can hear an orchestral accompaniment in the background, mainly tremolo and pizzicato parts. These varying performance types paint a beautiful picture for Brent's voice to float over. Eventually, minimal drums and a soft electric guitar do join the mix. It's an extremely romantic instrumental that I genuinely love. The snares are compressed and have subtle delay on them, which creates a cool sense of movement and space, while the synth bass line fills in the gaps. In the last minute of the song, the mix lowers in pitch and as a result moves more slowly. It's a cool way to end the song as the volume gradually fades out. Thematically, it's a simple song as Faiyaz describes a night out full of braggadocious energy. Track number 14 is entitled Addictions, featuring Trey Amani. This is a smooth boom-bap instrumental with an orchestral accompaniment in the background. The drums are full of movement and soft, so when they hit you very smoothly. We can also hear a subtle synth bass line that's got automation on it, so its color changes frequently. Thematically, the song touches on themes of lust and how such feelings can take control when left unchecked. Track number 15 is entitled Role Model. The instrumental here is awesome. We've got slow pop-type drums that present varying grooves. In addition to the strings in the background, colorful synth arpeggios and bass line join the mix. The result is a vibrant mix for Faiyaz to float on with his solid singing. The instrumental definitely carries the song, and this is a highlight for me. Faiyaz seems to be singing to a loved one and explaining that he's got a lot to offer, but the other person rejects him, and he tries to explain that they can overcome any troubles together. As he puts it on the second verse, us against the globe, don't let your attitude ruin what we got. Never stressing if you just lay low. I'll give you lessons, it's so much to know. Track number 16 is entitled Jackie Brown. This is another cool cut. The mix is airy and spacious, featuring a blend of Brent's pitched up vocals and his regular singing voice as well. The vocal melodies are catchy and the drums are wet and further complemented by the hazy synth chords. Thematically, the song seems to describe what it feels like to be directionless in life and going around with the motions of what's going on around you without really having any sense of general direction. Track number 17 is entitled Bad Luck. I would say this is a solid B-side track. Thematically, Brent is describing what it's like to have lingering feelings for a person after the relationship has ended. He tries to understand the situation and rationalize it to himself, as he explains on the chorus, I must be a fool. Why you want to see me so caught up? All that I'm asking for is answers, and it's all because of you that I'm always having such bad luck. It's common and understandable to want to blame another for your own shortcomings, and that's what Faiyaz highlights on this song. Track number 18 is the last skit of the album, entitled Wake Up Call. This story finally reaches a fever pitch as emotions are at an all-time high. Here we hear Brent return to an empty home, and it's clear to him that something is wrong. He calls his girl and is met with an emotional scene as she makes threats and explains that they don't deserve a child together. Over the phone, she makes threats against her own life, and she gives Brent a vague idea of her current location. In a panic, Brent rushes to his car to find her. In a rush of sound and emotions, we hear the sound of a devastating car accident, and the 911 dispatcher that Brent was trying to reach is all we can hear at this point as she realizes that something is very wrong, and she sends emergency response units to his current location. With that, we transition into Angel, the album closer. This is a captivating closer for the album. The instrumental consists of a funky guitar melody, luscious strings, and Brent's soaring vocals. There's no percussive elements, which does work well for the song. The mix swells as the song goes on and makes for a beautiful, gradual crescendo as we reach the end of the ambitious album. I also believe that Brent's vocals are the strongest on this song. Faiyaz reflects on his shortcomings and flaws, as he explains in the first verse, I look in the mirror and I see the worst parts in me. That I don't want that, but I'd never tell you that. He reflects on the role his lover has played in his life, and he expands on his guilt during the chorus. But from what I know, you'll never go away. Don't ever leave my side, baby, I'll die. But from what I know, you're always here to stay. You're an angel in disguise. I've got to say, it is a very thought-provoking end to this thought-provoking album. Overall, I would say it is an ambitious project. From the captivating production to the effort at building a story, it's clear that Brent Faiyaz has continued to grow as an artist over the years. Many folks online have claimed that R&B is dead, but artists like Faiyaz help prove that this idea could not be more wrong. Faiyaz put plenty of thought into this project, and the story he weaves together through the use of songs and skits helps flesh out a compelling narrative that I'm sure will resonate with the right listeners. The instrumentals on the album are solid work, featuring wonderful performances and musicianship. This is a beautiful album that I do recommend you give a chance, just in case you are on the fence about it or you just have never listened to Brent Faiyaz. He's been an interesting artist to watch, and I'm sure that his next musical projects will continue to showcase his abilities as both a songwriter and a singer. If you've sat here and you've listened to me talk about Brent Faiyaz and Wasteland for this long, I genuinely do appreciate that. I really think that this is an album you should probably give a listen to if you have not. And if you've got new music that you're listening to and you really want to share that with somebody, you can certainly send that my way. If you want my feedback, just let me know. I'm always happy to provide that. And with all that being said, I just hope you're having a very, very wonderful day. The fall is coming, but it's still hot outside, so remember to stay hydrated and remember to mask up. COVID cases are still going up, so take care of yourself.